This is Kardec Radio bringing to you the book Among Brothers of Other Lands, written by several spirit authors, and psychographed by Chico Xavier and Waldo Vieira. This partial audio recording will cover Chapter 27, Abnegation of the Heroes, Chapter 28, In the Harvest of Aid, Chapter 29, Obsessive Processes, Enjoy, Chapter 27, Abnegation of the Heroes, by Hilario Silva. Yesterday evening, during a lively conversation among the discarnated friends who had integrated our traveling team, Luis Garcia, a spiritual friend from Spain, vibrantly said, "What spoils the spiritist movement around the world are the traders of the doctrine, the merchants of mediumship, the auctioneers of phenomena, the clerks of darkness dressed in costumes of enlightened spirits." But Pierre Bazin, a French colleague, advanced during Garcia's ellipsis and gave his opinion. "Dear Garcia, you are right, very right. Those who abused the faculty and its holy resources in spite of Spiritism did and still do an immense harm. However, you and all of us cannot forget about the thousands of mediums and other fellows of our cause who brightly triumphed in their duties before the great spirituality in the last century, which is the first of our activities. Human society did not see its work, devotion, humility, and sacrifice. There were thousands of them in the physical arena who created favorable conditions to progress, blocking moral disasters, educating the collectivity, and raising hearts for the future. Before these anonymous heroes, the merchants of the temple are a small minority." Bazin stared at us meaningfully and soon after asked, "Do you know why?" and concluded, "That happens, my friends, because in general the world is nearsighted to see abnegation. However, all that relates to betrayal quickly reaches intense publicity because the world understands it very well." Paris, France, July 22nd, 1965. Chapter 28, In the Harvest of Aid, by Emmanuel. "Bear with each other, and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. Forgive as Christ forgave you." Paul's letter to the Colossians, chapter 3, verse 13. It is unnecessary to stress the brightness of the brain in the dome of humanity. The vanguard nations of material progress effect prodigies in the fields of research and the definition of the terrestrial plane. The university is a storehouse of light for intelligence. The laboratory is a fountain of safe answers for millennial questions. However, in the sphere of the spirit, discord and despair, disgust and disappointment still remain. All of us uneasily refer to the calamities of war, the proliferation of vices, the damage of hatred, and to the misrepresentation of culture that impose themselves on our common path. Here and there we point out the ideological fights, racial conflicts, insanity, and selfishness. What do we, as Christ's apprentices, do to restore equilibrium in the world? We are convinced that violence does not extinguish violence. Besides that, we do not ignore that Jesus called us, so we understand and help, construct and reconstruct for the goodness of all. Let us think about it. Do not claim isolation or smallness, so you give up the edifying effort that is with us. A humble fountain warrants the oasis in the dry land, and only one lamp wins against the force of darkness. The harmony of the whole comes from the fidelity and the service of each one. Let us work united for the edification of a better earth. Let us start and restart our task relying on our own action and on Paul's advice. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you may have against one another. New York, USA, July 4th, 1965. Chapter 29, Obsessive Processes, by Kelvin Van Dyne. Often we auscultate the obsessive processes when they are frankly installed. However, we know that the disaggregation of mental balance takes time when they clearly belong to the spirit. Life's wisdom does not build the nervous system to collapse under small deeds. In that way, we find those in the previous phase of segregation within the dungeon of the soul. They suffered or deceived themselves with some item of human experience and instinctively surrendered the control key of themselves to other intelligences that observed them from the shadows. From resentment, they pass to chronic grievance. From excitement, they transfer to systematic wrath. From there, they continue until they acquire a highlighted position in the pathology of the mind. When you identify yourself as being in a borderline position, empower yourself in order to release yourself. Remember, your vessel can save itself perfectly by sending an SOS, and begin to overthrow the mental jail that threatens your integrity by reuniting strength through prayer. Do not await your wreck. Then repair your organic strengths through the help of medications at the level of your physiological needs, mimicking the care of the mechanic who restores the powerhouse of the ship, and continue in the right direction. This right direction for the theme of obsession is the continuity of the terrestrial journey, without the anchorage that wouldn't be the one programmed for duties in the ports of call, the service provided to others. There should be no stopping within the reefs of disturbance or searching the bulge of the waves of darkness. Move forward. Forget yourself in favor of other travelers. If you face such subtle borderline problems between balance and imbalance, observe that in the majority of circumstances you brought a closed mind for helping others. They are thoughts of discouragement, tiredness, sadness, or temptation that loomed. They were small shadowy gaps in the citadel of the spirit, which served as targets for cruel picklocks, who were old adversaries of the pathways walked in other existences. Do not allow them to tear down your defensive doors. React, but conserve with certainty that the only constructive reaction is your own renunciation of whims and prejudices from personal circles, together with undisguised and disinterested service to others. Thousands or perhaps millions of companions in the world today are at the edge of obsession, being careless wayfarers on the back of the abyss. There is help and liberation for all, provided that each one is willing to renew oneself's goodness, thus renovating the spiritual agents that take possession of one's life. New York, USA, July 28, 1965.